proud Democrat, West Virginia, who is here to talk about, because we asked him to, Whitewater. Also with us is Senator David Pryor, one of the president's closest personal friends from Arkansas, was governor of Arkansas when Bill Clinton was AG. Also on hand is Representative Jim Leach of Iowa, a Republican, ranking member of the House Banking Committee, who's here with Senator Alfonse D'Amoto, Republican of New York. As you know, Congressman Leach has wants to have hearings, which he says he's entitled to do in his responsibility as a member of a committee with oversight on Treasury and the RTC, Resolution Trust Corporation. I have a confession to make to this audience. I have fished the White River.
That's right.
I have fished the White River now for the past 10 years. I want to show you the White River. I know you've seen it before. This is northern Arkansas. This is a fabulous place. I'm not kidding you when I say I thought about buying a lot at this place when I'm a Yankee visiting northern Arkansas. It's beautiful. It's pristine. I would say also that I've never fished the White River without catching a fish. But I want you to know something else. This Whitewater investigation has my president very, very angry. Is the presidency being paralyzed by this? What is all the fuss? What about all the important issues, like health care? The president finally let him have it this week. Here is what the president had to say. I thought we were on an independent roll. We don't have the president. Coming back to me. I'll show you that. Did you see him pounding? Did you see him? You are paralyzing the president, Congressman Leach, and so are you, Senator D'Amoto.
Nonsense.
Now let me say something else here. Just let me get you started here.
Nonsense. When you tell me I am paralyzing the president, I want to know, if we ask what took place. Let's have a hearing. Let's get the facts out. Let the American people know. The presidency is being paralyzed by the people in the White House who are attempting to keep the facts from coming out. We're not attempting to stop hearings in the area of health or keep his legislative agenda from going forward. We just want the facts. Yeah. And the American people have a right to the facts. So one of the greatest cover-ups was a line that John Dean talked about the President Nixon during the Watergate. And he said, what we decided to do is say that we're going to be open, that is the White House, but yet whenever the Congress asks for hearings, we're going to accuse them of being politically motivated. And that's exactly what's happening.
You want the facts to come out,
That's
Senator
right.
D'Amoto.
That's right.
I am not the first member of the questionable press to ask you why you don't let the facts come out on the investigation of the Ethics Committee into your dealings.
That is just nothing but a...
Why don't you let the facts come out, though?
Let me answer. It is nothing more than a political diversionary attack to keep from answering the questions. I answered the questions.
But you haven't...
went before... Wait a second.
You haven't released the details.
Philip, let me just tell you something. I answered the questions, all of them. And now one of the greatest ways to divert attention is to bring up a canard by saying, well, what about your ethics? This has nothing to do with what Al D'Amato did or didn't do. It has to do with what the White House did, whether or not they abused power, whether or not they shredded documents, whether or not they used the FBI improperly by telling them to sit to the side while they were concealing documents, how it is that Vince Foster's office, instead of being investigated after he died the right way, you took papers out of there, how the White House counsel met with regulators. These are bona fide questions. And to attempt to divert the attention by saying, what did you do, Senator, in 1975, or what did the Ethics Committee made its report?
You're doing what did Hillary do in 1978? What's the difference?
I'll tell you.
You know, if yours is if the attempt to ask, all we're asking, Senator, is...
You want the difference? You want to know the difference? The difference is that I didn't use my office or any other office to keep the facts from coming out. But if you...
You have disallowed the release of the detailed investigation of the Ethics Committee.
We obeyed the law to the nth. We obeyed the law to the nth. But I'll tell you something. When you use the Treasury Department and bring them in and have the independent regulator's office compromised, and they've admitted it, and it was only because we had hearings, now you have a different situation where the White House is attempting to stifle the independent investigation by the RTC.
Yes.
And that's what it would appear was taking place. There's no way that the regulator should have been over at the White House on 3 different occasions briefing them. And if you believe that the president was told that there was some kind of a referral that his name and Hillary's was mentioned, and he doesn't remember a criminal referral, who told them or when he was told, I would tell you that if someone told you about that, you'd remember who told you. Well, and it's inconceivable that he doesn't remember who told him.
How many times did you get briefed, Al, by the on the Whitewater situation?
Me personally, I couldn't even get the date until we finally went to the chairman as to when the statute of limitations would run out, David. We couldn't get, as a matter of fact, if they had answered the questions, we probably wouldn't have insisted on an RTC overview hearing where it came out that you had these secret meetings.
Let me just try and move this along. Congressman Leach, my understanding is that you get a day, is this right? You get 1 day in which you would be not only legally able to, but authorized to, and maybe even encouraged to call witnesses on the matter of the Resolution Trust Corporation. Is this so?
That's so according to the rules of the House and the committee. It is not clear the chairman is going to grant it. Let me just stress, we have a bump of a scandal. This isn't the biggest scandal in American history.
Well, but you wouldn't know it by reading the paper.
But it's very symbolic. And all the minority has literally requested is hearings. That has been denied. And so the question is, are we going to have full disclosure? That's the main question here. Now let me go on further. You ask, is it a big scandal? In dollar terms, no. It's multi-thousand-dollar conflicts of interest, but they led to multi-million-dollar losses to the taxpayer when a savings and loan went under that was clearly improperly led. And the question is, were there conflicts with the then governor of Arkansas? Were these conflicts contributory to losses at this institution? If the majority party of the United States Congress allows a hearing, that evidence will be brought out. If it doesn't allow a hearing, the public can ask, is it fair?
Can you call 40 witnesses in 1 day?
Quite possibly. We don't have major questions for
But you only get a day. Is that right? I'm just trying to understand the rules
We are authorized a day. That is correct. Now, there is a very decent chance, the chairman of the Committee of Jurisdiction said today that questioning the Resolution Trust Corporation about a failed S&L is not the jurisdiction of the hearing, and that he will disallow any questions on the subject.
Yes.
This is preposterous. And you can reach your own judgment on whether or not that is an ethical way to operate the United States Congress.
I know this probably has already been called to your attention, but William Seidman's book contains an interesting passage. Apparently, Al Byrne, who was the chief counsel for the FDIC, had a conversation with Boyden Gray, the chief White House counsel for George Bush.
Very improper.
On the matter of Neil Bush.
Very improper.
And he says, here was a neat little story for some investigative reporter, and I could even write the headline, writes Mr. Seidman. Everybody wants to be in the newspaper business. Here's his headline. White House tries to influence Neil Bush case. If you knew this, would you call hearings on this?
You bet. I think
you would.
But let me stress, we've had a hearing on that episode. Not the exact incident, but on Silverado, the savings and loan that failed. Neil Bush was brought before the United States Congress. He was publicly chastised. And by the way, he paid a very hefty fine. He made some lame-brained mistakes, and it's a tragedy for Neil Bush. But let me also say, Neil Bush requested himself a meeting with the top regulators. The top regulators declined very properly.
He also, it should be said, got a $2.35 million Small Business Administration loan, which the taxpayers had to eat. He may have come in with a very small percentage of this loan in repayment, but the taxpayers had to eat that. Where were your hearings? Where was Senator D'Amato's indignation at that time?
Let me tell you, the United States House of Representatives.
Yes, what? The United States
House of Representatives, with the support of the minority party, held hearings on this subject with the full support of a bipartisan investigation. Now, when the shoe's on the other foot, the majority political party of the United States Congress refuses a hearing.
And let me just say this, point of personal privilege, that was a cheap shot. When you said, where was D'Amato's indignation, my friend, there were hearings on that. Neil Bush did come forward. And the fact of the matter is that the Democrats had them there as they should. But now, when it's a Democrat in the White House, oh no, don't have hearings. Something's wrong. Now, let me tell you what's wrong.
But you're breathing very heavy about a $300,000 Small Business Administration loan to Susan McDougal. $300,000.
When you say to me, where was my indignation and there were hearings, you are out of line.
Your
Yeah,
misgiving.
because they had hearings,
Your
and that's what you
misgiving
said.
Your misgivings on the record.
Yeah, okay, good.
Senator Rockefeller and Senator Pryor get a chance to speak as we come to you from Washington, D.C. on the issue of Whitewater. And we'll be back in just a moment.
Why compromise on a laxative? If strong and gentle is what you want, get Docalax. It's so effective, doctors recommend it more than X-Lax and Correctol combined. And it's gentle with comfort coating. Don't compromise. Get strong, get gentle. Get Docalax.
At the first tickly itch of athlete's foot, Desonex. Killing those grungy fungi before they get racket and burning. Go get that can now, or else don't blame Desonex.
My grandma taught me to make real sweet butter. She had to help me work the churn. Said the harder the work, the better the butter. And that sweet butter was so good, I can still taste it.
Tastes like turnstile.
Like fresh churned sweet butter, but with less fat and no cholesterol. Country Crock Churn Style, the taste of sweet butter from the farm.
These are some of the thousands of homeowners who call Centennial Mortgage Company every day of the week for mortgage refinancing or home equity loans. Centennial helps people just like you with bill consolidation, home improvement, and many other personal needs. And Centennial even works with people who have had credit problems in the past or have been turned down by other lenders. So call Centennial now. You'll be glad you did. And then join with the many, many homeowners who now say,
Thank you, Centennial.
Coming up tonight on Channel 3 News at 6.
14 hours after it started, a West Side industrial fire leaves lots of Cleveland employees out of a job. And in a surprise move, a longtime local school board member calls it quits. Also, a little girl barely escapes a vicious attack by stray dogs. And a high-tech computerized postal facility is opening in our area. Would you believe they're having trouble filling the jobs? I'm Connie Deacon. See you at 6.
Welcome back to our program. We are coming to you from Washington, D.C. Senator Pryor, I have discovered the problem. As you know, I'm a very wise man. The core of the problem was reported by Maureen Dowd in today's New York Times. I share with you briefly. Increasingly, Ms. Dowd writes, there is a sense in Washington that the Arkansas political culture does not work in the White House, especially when it's combined with the combative campaign culture that produced many of the younger breed of Clinton aides. You Arkansas people just don't fit in here.
Well, now, wait a minute.
Why didn't you get that straight?
Phil, let us ask this question. Have you ever seen a culture that fit in the White House? There's never been a culture. Ever.
Now imagine West Virginia. Imagine if West Virginia tries to get in the White House. Talk about trouble. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But if you just think about it, George Bush had the Texas culture, Reagan the California culture, Jimmy Carter the Georgia culture. A culture doesn't fit in the White House any more than it fits in the local Rotary Club or the labor union. But what we have here is a president who is trying to do something. He's trying to do something about crime in the streets. He's trying to do something about health care. And Senator D'Amoto and his friends, I don't know how many times Congressman Leach has, but since January the 1st, listen to this, on 29 occasions, Senator D'Amoto and his friends have taken the Senate floor, the United States Senate, to talk about what? Whitewater. What they're trying to do is an interesting thing. They're trying the best they know how to line up a list of suspects, put them in a corral, and then to decide, wait a minute, we've got to find a crime that they have committed. And they're trying to find a crime and pin it on them right now, and that's simply what this is about. It is diversionary.
Senator Rockefeller would want to say what?
You know, Phil, maybe I come at it from a different perspective, but
it seems to me that the American people have hired on Fisk, Robert Fisk, who's the special investigator, to do his job.
Right.
And it seems to me the people of West Virginia hired me on to come to West Virginia to work on health care reform, welfare reform, coal mine safety, job creation. I mean, I just came from a debate that we're having on the floor about science and technology. And, you know, we don't have any time left already in this legislative year. We're trying to pass health care reform, and everything is all about, you know, Whitewater, and these two gentlemen are creating an awful lot of problems for us. And I keep thinking, you know, Tanya and Nancy, remember how Connie Chung would lead off the CBS News every single night? She was chasing Tanya all over Norway. And then you'd get something at Bosnia, and then maybe something about health care reform. I mean, where are our priorities? The American people want us to do something.
Well, here's the president pounding the table. Brian, is that ready? Here's what we didn't get on.
This is the point the president made. I believe he was in Detroit at the time. Watch this.
This begs for honest political debate and genuine conflicts of ideas. Why then are we confronted in this administration with an opposition party that just stands up and says no, 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 no? When I was a Democratic governor and they had the White House, I constantly sought them out, engaged them in debate, offered to work with them on issues from education to welfare reform to crime to you name it. I never did them the way they are doing us in Washington, D.C. today. It is wrong, and it is not good for the United States of America.
You wanted to say.
Phil, I mentioned that I just come from the floor of the Senate. And I think David would agree, this is kind of a pattern. You know, I don't know Al that well. Jim Leach is one of the finest men I've ever met. I think the world of him. I don't know why they're doing this. I mean, Fisk is going to find out if there's something wrong. That's what he's there for. But we had a bill on science and technology, which is a very important bill, which was voted out of the Commerce Committee 20-0. All the Republicans voted for it. When it got to the floor of the Senate 1 week ago, all the Republicans started voting against it. And, you know, I don't mind that, but it's taken a full week of the people's time, the people's money. It's put off health care reform, which we haven't gotten to yet, put off welfare reform, which we haven't gotten to yet. And I'm just wondering if there's some kind of a pattern here.
Congressman, I want to make sure this audience understands about these proposed hearings. You're suggesting to us that they may not happen because why? The Democrats in the committee would vote. How does this work? The idea for the hearings can be vetoed by the majority. Is that right?
Yeah. The processes of the United States Congress are controlled by the majority political party. We all understand that. Let me just say...
Well, I just want to ask you now.
Go ahead.
Are you pursuing with vigor the notion of having this one-day hearing with 40 witnesses on the matter of the RTC?
All the minority party has suggested is that we have a hearing about public ethics that relate to an event of some embarrassment to the majority party's president. We've had 20 investigations over the last 20 years of comparable proportions.
Right. One day?
They will not allow a single hearing of 1 day. This one happens to be statutorily required. That is, it's a matter of law that it must be held.
It's a matter of law, but it can be vetoed by the Democratic majority.
Sure. And let me say from the minority's perspective, we're not holding up a single act in the United States Congress. We are fully supportive of going forth with welfare reform. I happen to be more sympathetic than many to changes in health care than some in my political party, but there are honest differences of opinion here. Well, we have in Senator Pryor and Dale Bumpers 2 fabulous senators from Arkansas, as well as maybe one of the great senators of the century in Senator Rockefeller.
As much as I like you, why was it in 1987 during the Iran-Contra hearings that you said that this Iran-Contra hearings were a side issue and they were overshadowed, they were overshadowing the important things, and that we can't get ahead and talk about taxes, spending, and foreign policy? I mean, what was different then about Iran-Contra?
Let me say, let me go back to that. I have supported every investigation in the United States House of Representatives Banking Committee. I've supported all the investigations of Iran-Contra with one minor exception. I never believed George Bush, as alleged by a particular book, was in Paris 2 weeks before the election in 1980 negotiating about hostages. And that particular hostage issue I objected to because I did not believe it was a credible charge. And we spent $3.5 million.
The two gentlemen who were late at night, Bud McFarland and Ollie North, I ran into them at the Geneva airport, just on the way back from Iran.
But you're not suggesting that they negotiated hostage to stop the hostage release in 1980.
Senator Pryor wanted to say.
I would like to try to set the record straight just a little bit, and I think my colleagues will agree with me. There's not one Democrat that I've heard in the House or the Senate who has maintained a position that we will give up our duty and our obligation to hold hearings when and if the time justifies it. What we want to do is do what Mr. Fisk wants us to do and has pled with us to do in a letter to Senator D'Amoto and to Senator Regal about 10 days ago. Please, Congress, let us continue with our investigation. Let us see if there's any criminal activity. Let us see exactly what is going on. Do not impede the progress of our investigation while you are holding investigations of your own. This is what this argument is about. It is not about whether we're going to hold hearings or not going to hold hearings, not whether we're going to put facts on the table, not trying, as one of you has said, trying to stifle an investigation. We're not trying to stifle anything. We're trying to accede to the request of Mr. Fisk. That may be the case in the United States Senate. It's not the case in the United States House of Representatives. And I would go further. The minority fully concurs that no one will be placed under immunity in a hearing, that the special counsel be offered an opportunity to visit with and depose every witness first. There's no objection there. What is being suggested is a rewrite of Article 1 of the Constitution of the United States that the Congress cannot hold an oversight hearing while the Justice Department, in this case through a special counsel, is doing an investigation. That wasn't true in Watergate. It wasn't true with any of the criminal proceedings that were going on at the same time we were looking at S&L hearings in the House side in the 1980s. This is unprecedented, and it is a flatulent pretext for the majority party not to have public disclosure. And let me again stress, please give us
is there a soul that objects to public disclosure? If there is, I haven't heard from him.
Congressman?
Oh, now that is a cheap shot.
Well, let's do a cheap shot. I will give you a chance to make...
No, wait a minute. That is... No, that's... No. I met the request. Well, you shouldn't have. That's right. Correct the record.
But it was true.
I met my statutory and legal and moral obligations, Shay, and you know it. And what we're saying here is the congressman cannot even get that hearing which is duly required under the law. Under the law, they're supposed to hold 2 RTC oversight hearings. Let me say this, to the credit of Don Regal. He did agree and gave us that one hearing. And as a result of that hearing, my friends, we learned of the secret meetings that were taking place. Yes. Oh, you would make it sound like Robert Altman just had a little meeting, give him a little heads up. Come on. And who did he meet with? He met with Hillary's chief of staff. He met with the chief counsel. He met with those president's assistants.
And no attempt was made following those meetings to alter the course of the investigation.
How do you know that? Don't you think we have to find out? Don't you think we have, that's exactly what we want to find out.
Fisk?
We got big losers.
How's the big loser? Who's the big loser?
Don't you think we have a right to find out?
Your host has to...
Look, we're sitting here with 4, 5 intelligent people.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was just... I'm just modest, that's all. But what are we doing here? I mean, the losers of this obsession, all over all the newspapers, it's all over all the television. It's going to be handled by the people. We're entertaining the people, and the losers, the American people, because they're not going to get health care. You, at the rate that we're going now, are not going to get health care reform. And if you want to go from $1 trillion that we're spending this year to $2 trillion in health care in the year 2000, which is less than 6 years away, then let's just go right ahead with this type of thing. And I'll tell you, Phil, I mean, I like you a lot, and you graduated from the University of Notre Dame, and you're a great American. But I challenge you to have some hearings on health care policy.
And shows on it, you mean?
Shows on it.
And you would like media to be as concerned about those things. I'm compelled to say to Congressman Leach, You have a magnificent reputation in the body called the House of Representatives, and it is, you are entitled to this. You are not a hot dog. You do your homework, you work hard, and you're not a fire breather. So I have to conclude that if you really want these hearings, and I don't think you want to embarrass anybody, least of all the president, you must have somebody who's going to jump out of a cake and say something very, very interesting. That is the only conclusion I can have to a person who wants to have a one-day hearing which is going to draw every network, CNN, C-SPAN, the whole electronic universe is going to focus on your committee. People are going to say things. It's going to be half done, 40 witnesses in one day, and we're very, very close to McCarthy-type tactics when that happens. And I know that you're not in any way, you have no personal interest in that kind of drama.
Let me just say to you, sir, you have alleged McCarthyite tactics, and I want to know, name one. The second point I want to make to you as clearly as I can, sir, is who is the loser when the United States government refuses to hold accountable people when they have conflicts of interest? If you ignore 1,000 here and 1,000 there, you're going to have 1 million here and 1 million there, and you're going to have a whole spectrum of scandal. It's important to have public accountability for public officials, no matter if they're the President of the United States. This is a government of laws and not of men. Yeah. And in America, process is our most important product. And when the chairman of the Committee of Jurisdiction writes regulators and says, do not disclose information to a member of the United States Congress, when the chairman of the Committee of Designation says, we will not allow questions that relate to a hearing mandated by law, the question becomes, is this blocking full disclosure? It might be an exaggeration to say, is this a cover-up of a cover-up? But it is no exaggeration to say the American people deserve full disclosure, and why isn't it occurring?
And you're suggesting that it's going to happen in a one-day hearing with 40 witnesses?
I'm not suggesting that at all. What I am suggesting is the only latch the minority party in the United States Congress has is to request a hearing of the majority. The majority has said no. By chance, by law, there's a required hearing. The only power of the minority is, under the rules of the Congress, we have 1 day that we're allowed to have witnesses, and we have the right to designate who those witnesses are. Senator Pryor, Senator Rockefeller cannot tell D'Amoto or Jim Leach who we want as witnesses. We get to name that.
What have you got against Fisk? Why not let him do it? The White House, Hillary's already said.
I know you have other things to say. Will the gentleman forgive me for this interruption as we continue our discussion from Washington, D.C. in just a moment?
Give your kids an adventure they'll treasure forever. Steven Spielberg presents We're Back, a dinosaur story. Now from MCA Universal Home Video for only $24.98. Each video also includes a $20 savings booklet.
A collision at only 20 miles per hour can still cause serious injuries, even wearing a seatbelt and harness. There's no guarantee you'll walk away injury-free. I'm Jeff Friedman of Friedman, Damiano & Smith. Our law firm wants you to always drive safely. But if you've been injured, call Friedman, Damiano & Smith. We help the seriously injured. We're here to help you when you need us. At Friedman, Damiano & Smith, your concerns are our business. Call 621-0070.
Hello, I'm Bill Scafidi. In February, I asked you to watch Channel 3 News at 11 every night for a week, then call our Talkback 3 line. Well, the response was tremendous. And I promised you I'd let you know what people just like you are saying. And we took some of your suggestions, just like this one on our music.
That heavy drum roll is just unbelievable.
We heard you loud and clear about that drum roll, and tonight when you watch our news, you'll hear the difference.
I feel slighted because you never have Canton written on your weather map.
We agreed with our Canton viewers and made those changes. Not only did we add Canton to our weather map, we added it to our Doppler 3 radar as well.
I really like the scores being shown at the bottom of the screen.
I don't like your scoreboard on sports.
As you can tell, we have a split decision on the scoreboard. So keep the calls coming, and we'll keep score to see which you like better. The Talkback 3 number is 344-3330. Keep watching and let us hear from you, because at Channel 3, we're building our station around you.
Police say this teenager killed the young daughter of a family friend. Now, parents in a quiet town battle to protect their kids. On the next Current Affair.
Tonight at 7 on Channel 3.
Yeah, there is a caller, several. You wanted to say briefly, caller.
Hi.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, first of all, that I think both of the Republicans that are up there are a couple of pompous jerks. I think that we have a lot more important things to worry about.
Not classy. But then I guess you're in my column, and some of our guests are not pleased with my question as well. You want to say briefly?
I want to say briefly that I think we have a lot more important things to worry about in this country than something that the President and First Lady may have done back in the 70s, and I think the Republicans need to get a life.
Next call, please. The next caller wanted to say what? Hello, caller.
Yes, hi.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'd like to compliment Senator D'Amoto. I think he's doing a marvelous job. I think he's a regular pit bull, and I think there's a definite abuse of power in the White House, and I think it's a very young and incompetent staff.
Yes, hang on a minute.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that the paralysis, as far as the government is concerned, seems to be self-inflicted to me. If the answer is for full disclosure and for all of us to know what's going on as far as Whitewater is concerned, why not make full disclosure and have it done as soon as possible, and then let's get on.
First Lady has told both of our major news magazines that they have. It's all out there. Nothing is being kept from the special president.
Let me say this. Let me say this. If I'm in the business of defending people, one of the first things I want to do is to find as much information as I could, if it's bills, if it's files, if it's phone bills, if it's electric bills, get as much information as I can. The only time I'd want to get rid of information or shred information is if I've got something to hide.
Yes, you wanted to say. Yes.
I'd like to know why the Republicans do things after the fact. I'm sure that you knew prior to Clinton's inauguration that there was a Whitewater, and I want to know why you did not bring that forth during that period and bring it at this time where you are trying to deface or embarrass the president.
Well, let me say this. First of all, when we first started asking some questions about Whitewater, I had no idea, nor did I ever contend that there was wrongdoing. I wanted to know when the statute of limitations would run out. We couldn't get the answer. We asked basic questions, and after we, and I will characterize it, had a recalcitrant administration, and they wouldn't give us basic answers to questions, we began to wonder, and I began to say, what are you hiding? Why won't you at least tell us what procedure you will be following in this case? And it wasn't until we got the chairman of the banking committee to join with us that we even got any response as it related to what was happening. So it was the very, and I think the gentleman said it's the very activity of not coming forth, of not disclosing, that brought this senator into saying, what are you hiding? And why don't you come forth with it and get it out?
You wanted to say, Senator Pryor, briefly, sir.
Yes, Phil, the statute of limitations ran on February the 24th. Senator D'Amoto knew when the statute was going to run. Ironically, there's something else interesting. On 8 S&Ls in his state, New York State, the statute of limitations ran out on the same day as it ran out on the Madison Guaranty Savings and Loan. Senator D'Amoto not one time took the floor of the Senate to question where the statute of limitations was or when it would run out then.
Now, look, and nobody's ever raised the question to this senator with respect to that. And let's be very candid. You didn't have Webb Hubbell working for any of those institutions. You didn't have, let me finish, now I listen to you. We extended the statute of limitations through my legislative efforts for about 300 banks now, so that it did not run out, so that people would have an opportunity to do their job the right way. And secondly, there happens to be a difference. There happens to be a fact as to whether or not the President and Mrs. Clinton benefited directly or indirectly as a result of Madison and Whitewater. Now, that's a fact. And now we learn that there were secret meetings, we didn't know this before, going on with the President's office, his chief counsel, and the very person in charge of that independent agency. That's wrong on its face. And you've had Mr. Nussbaum step down. Now, why did he step down if that wasn't improper? Yeah. I'd like to ask you.
Look at the innuendo. First, we bring up Webb Hubbell. Senator D'Amoto, Friday with Senator Dole, asked for Webb Hubbell's resignation. Monday morning, Webb Hubbell resigned. He has never yet had an opportunity to defend himself. He has never been charged with a crime. Webb Hubbell, in my opinion, is an honorable person, and basically an honorable person has been brought down. Let me quote you one thing in case we get too far off of this. In July, at the night of the death, or a few days after the death of Vincent Foster, now I'm going to quote you something. I'm going to quote you the last sentence of the suicide note left by the late Vincent Foster. Here, in this town, here, running people is considered sport. Now, that was a suicide note. Now, I think that we have a better system, that we have a system of government here, and people who should realize that by innuendo, you cannot keep trying people in the press, convicting them, ruining their lives, ruining their careers, ruining their families. I think that we have a higher calling than that.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
That cause bad breath. We fight black above the gum line. We go on to battle the gum infection, gingivitis. When brushing and flossing can't do it alone, nothing takes care of a mouth. Any mouth, every mouth, your mouth. Vacuum, Listerine, antiseptic. Now, you know what to do.
Hard water lime, crusting on our sinks and choking our faucets. But now there's new Lime-A-Way Extra. Lime-A-Way foams on contact as it penetrates, dissolving crusty limescale and hard water stains, leaving your home clean and shiny. Get Lime-A-Way with Lime-A-Way. And now, for everyday soap scum and hard water film, there's Lime-A-Way Impact Basin Tub and Tile Cleaner.
Open the door. Check under the hood. Because now's the time to get to your Toyota dealer and get to quality. Toyota's March sales event is on, and it features Corolla with big factory-to-dealer incentives, option package savings, and a $179 lease plan that can make Corolla more affordable than ever. Corolla, Toyota's benchmark of quality for 25 years. Now with a great selection and great deals. But hurry, this special sales event ends April 5th.
It's new and it's fast and it's fresh and it's hot and it's out and we chop till we drop and it sizzles like nobody's biz and we call it stir fry chop that apple meat. Chicken or beef or pork, mushrooms, spicy noodles or rice, so we never live out on the carrots and peppers and broccoli and peas and the beets round or do apple peas. Oh, we chop and it sizzles and snaps and we call it stir fry chop that apple meat. America's favorite neighbor, Applebee's.
Coming up tonight on Channel 3 News at 6.
The planned opening of a major retail store caused some very long lines today. They weren't shoppers, they were job seekers. Before you plan your St. Patrick's Day feast, don't miss our important safety tips about preventing corned beef food poisoning. And after 14 hours, a West Side fire is still burning. Also, a local gang of bank robbers made their last heist. We'll tell you how the FBI put an end to their hold-up spree tonight at 6.
To be part of the audience, please send a postcard to Donahue Tickets, care of NBC, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, 10112. Remember, postcards only, please. Be sure to include your phone number with the area code.
When you're going to have the hottest platform in the universe if and when you hold this hearing. It's going to be viewed by a whole bunch of people on all the networks. And I don't think you would do this if you didn't believe and have some information that somebody is going to say something that's going to move this case forward. Say something heretofore unknown. Am I correct, Congressman?
Well, I think it's fair to say that I believe very firmly that a story has not fully unfolded.
But you're not going to just call people without knowing some random sort of, what do you know? Obviously, you're a disciplined man with no doubt a hardworking staff. You've got something and if you do we have to have a hearing to reveal it? Why can't we have it? Could the deposition be released with the permission of the...
All I'm asking is that people have a chance to tell their story. And if they are given a chance to tell their story, the public can have a chance to make its judgment. Now, let me stress in this. The United States Congress, you mentioned 1 day of hearings. Is that unfair? That is all I can ask for. If I were the chairman of the committee representing the majority party, I could have 2 weeks of hearings. And so to be held accountable for only having 1 day is not my fault. It's the only thing that I have any capacity as a member of Congress to call for in the minority party.
Yes, but you wouldn't exercise it simply because you have the authority to do it. You would exercise it because you think it's in the best interest of the country for a lot of people to come on live television in 1 day and say things that may need a follow-up.
You bet. And let me just stress, the minority 5 months ago called for hearing. That's all. If we'd had a hearing in November, this show would not be held. The senator from West Virginia, the senator from Arkansas could be dealing with whatever they wanted to deal with. It is their party that said there shall be no hearings. It is their party that said we'll bring the wagons around the White House and not do anything that can conceivably reveal embarrassment. Based upon that, the Fourth Estate, the press, has suggested, aha, there must be something more wrong. And so every day you have water torture, but it's not based on Republican strategy. It's based upon refusal to be accountable to the American people.
Phil, look, how often do we have to say it? Fisk has been appointed. Hillary Clinton has said, sure, we made some mistakes. Not back then or whatever, but in the process, okay? It's not easy to be president of the United States or to be a First Lady's wife. She spent 1.5 years working to prepare a health care plan. 78% of the American people, according to CBS, believe that the Republicans are doing this for political advantage. I happen to be one of those 78%. All I know is that 70,000 people today, as we're talking, will lose their health insurance. They already have it, they're going to lose it. And it's the same tomorrow. We're going to do none of this year because people like this are going to make such a glory stand over something that Fisk could do and do right.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
Tonight, arresting television with unsolved mysteries. He masterminded a prison break and left a trail of gunfire. Now this fugitive is still on the loose and you can help find him. And on Now, he throws chairs and kicks his players. He's not exactly grace under fire. Bob Costas with the inside story on Bobby Knight. Then on Law and Order, a deadly cult, a dangerous prophet.
The plagues will visit the wicked.
Could New York be the next Waco? Law and Order after Unsolved Mysteries, and now arresting television, NBC Tonight.
When Burger King Flame Broiling went one-on-one against frying, you know who won? Flame Broiling won, 4-1. In fact, the Flame Broiled Whopper is the #1 preferred burger in America. And for a limited time, the Whopper is just 99 cents. 99 cents for the #1 burger.
Welcome to
We may not be the world's #1 fast food place. It just tastes that way. Get a 99-cent Whopper at Burger King.
How secure is your future? Get into your own business. This weekend at the Cleveland Convention Center, the 3rd annual Entrepreneur Expo will show you how to create your own secure full or part-time business. Choose from business opportunities, national franchises, home-based businesses, and distributorships. Don't be a victim of the economy. Attend the Entrepreneur Expo this weekend at the Cleveland Convention Center, downtown at 6th Street and Lakeside. Get into your own business now.
Once in a lifetime, it happens. One furniture chain buys another, and the big winner is you. Get ready, Cleveland, for the Heilig Myers Ohio Furniture Buyout Sellout. The 500-store Heilig Myers furniture chain has bought Ohio furniture, so every piece of Ohio furniture has to go. Every single piece. And at up to 60% off, it will. Hurry!
because it's the end of an era for Ohio furniture. But it's your chance to save.
For a transcript of Donahue, send $3 to Journal Graphics, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203. Or call 303-831-9000. To order a video cassette for only $24.95, just call 1-800-FOR-VIDEO.
My mic was not working when I apologized to Congressman Leach if he thought that I was suggesting that the hearings that he's calling for bespeak a kind of McCarthy-like energy on the part of Congressman Leach. I do not believe that for a moment. I think my question made it clear that I respected him as a public servant.
I appreciate that, Phil.
The environment, however, of a one-day hearing on live television where we already had Clarence Thomas, or people, oh, he hit on me, I hit on you, you hit on... People say things that, that require follow-up, hurt people's lives, embarrass them without proof, and I merely suggested that a responsible member of Congress like yourself would not do this if you didn't truly have in your pocket one or more people who are going to say something very important that you know, and you know what they're going to say right now, and you want them to say it under oath in front of your committee.
That is true.
And is it, obviously you feel it would be